So apparently Ilhan Omar is running for Congress again.
Really excited to run, to continue to represent Minnesota's 5th Congressional District. And we hope to see you on the campaign trail.
Her current net worth is somewhere between $6 and $30 million. Oh, sorry. It's actually about $90,000. Anyways, she's looking to get that up to $100 million before she retires in her mid-40s. What would be the fun of being in Congress if you can't make money?
Really excited
Ilhan Omar, representative of Minnesota, just filed her paperwork run for re-election, even while all the scandals continue around her and called for resignation grow. Well, right now, with everything that has been happening, she has actually filed her paperwork, and now supporters of Omar argue that many of these accusations have been investigated repeatedly and that no criminal charges have been brought against her. They point to her electoral success as evidence that voters in her district continue to support her leadership and political positions. Critics, however, say the issue is larger than whether charges are filed. They argue that elected officials should be fully transparent when questions arise about their conduct, especially when public funds and public trust are involved. In this view, accountability means answering difficult questions and providing clear documentation when concerns arise. As the 2026 election cycle heats up, the debate surrounding Omar is likely to intensify. Her supporters will focus on her legislative record, advocacy, and representation of her constituents, and her opponents will continue pressing for answers on controversies that have followed her throughout her political career. Ultimately, the decision all reset with the vote. They will have to weigh the allegations and the responses, the available evidence, and Omar's record in office before deciding whether she deserves another term in Congress. Until then, the political party over her future is far from over, because right now the battle is really getting more serious, and people are beginning to ask if she's actually ready for what's to come. And that's what makes this race one of the most closely watched congressional contests heading into 2026. It's not just about one seat in Congress. It's about the broader questions of transparency, accountability, and public trust in elected officials. Expect both sides to pour significant resources into their campaigns. National organizations, political action committees, and grassroots activists will be paying attention, because the outcome could have implications far beyond Minnesota borders. At the same time, voters are likely to hear a steady stream of campaign ads, debates, interviews, and social media battles as each side tries to shape the narrative. Supporters will argue that Omar has been the target of unfair attacks and political smears, and opponents will argue that unanswered questions deserve greater scrutiny and that voters should demand more from their representatives. I mean, that's the least anybody or voters could ask for. Well, moving ahead, the one thing is certain: this story is not going away anytime soon. Every new development, every public statement, every campaign filing will be examined and closely as the election approaches. The stakes are high, the political divisions are deep, and both sides believe the future direction of the district is on the ballot. As always, the final verdict won't come from political commentators or activists or party leaders. It will come from the voters when they cast their ballots. Until then, the debate over Ilhan Omar's political future is set to remain front and center in the national conversation. And you all, if you have seen the video, you will realize that there was a time Ilhan Omar came and then she tried to clear her name on everything that has been going on in the news lately. Let's watch the video and then we come back.
I am Muslim. I am an immigrant, and interestingly, from Africa. Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Is anyone surprised that I am somehow deemed unworthy to speak about American foreign policy? Or that they see me as a powerful voice that needs to be silenced? Frankly, it is expected. I am an American who was sent here, by her constituents to represent them in Congress, a refugee who survived the horrors of a civil war, someone who spent her childhood in a refugee camp, someone who knows what it means to have a shot at a better life here in the United States, and someone who believes in the American dream and the American possibility and the promise and the ability to participate in the democratic process. So I will continue to speak up because representation matters. I will continue to speak up for little kids who wonder who's speaking up for them. I will continue to speak up for families around the world who are seeking justice, whether they are displaced in refugee camps or they are hiding under their beds somewhere like I was, waiting for the bullets to stop.
Well,
In this
another
country,
issue that continues to
we
resonate
do
with
not
many voters in
blame the lawlessness of an
Omar's
individual
rhetoric
on a
towards
whole
the United
community.
States and,
What we
towards
also
the
know
president. The
is
critics
that there
argue
is
that
not a single
elected
evidence
officials have
that the president
responsibility
or
to
his
criticize
cronies have put
policies
forth
without
that there
appearing
are
to
any single
undermine the
resource
country
from
itself
taxpayers
or the office
in
of the
Minnesota
presidency.
that
Many
has
of our
gone
opponents
to
say
aid
that
and
while
abet
disagreement is a
terrorism.
normal part of democracy,
That
there's
language
a line
is
between political
dangerous.
opposition and
That
language
language
that
puts the
they
lives
believe
of Somalis
shows
not
a
only
lack
in
of
Minnesota,
respect for
but
national
across the country
institutions.
in danger.
They
And
argue
if the
that members
president
of Congress
believed
should
that
remember that
and he
they
had
represent
evidence,
the United
he would
States
take
on the world
people
stage
to court.
and that their words carry
So
significant
we are
weight.
sick
Supporters of
and
Omar see
tired
things differently.
of the
They
president
contend
waking
that
up one
holding
day
a president
and deciding
accountable and speaking
to
forcefully
put forth
against policies
falsehoods
one disagrees
and
with is a
demonize
fundamental part
whole
of democratic
communities, while the
democratic
ignorant
government.
people that support
In their
him
view, strong
then
criticism
take
of a
the
president
lies
is not
that he's
criticism
spreading and
of the
use it
country
as a
itself,
fact.
but rather an
We've seen
expression
it
of
during the
political
campaign
disagreements
where he
towards
said Haitians
protected
were
by
eating cats and
disagreements
dogs.
that is protected
We've
by the
seen
Constitution. Nevertheless, the debate
his
has
vice
become
president
a
repeat those
major
lies.
talking point among
We've seen
voters
the
who
media
believe that
run it
elected
as a
officials should
headline as if
demonstrate
it was a
greater respect
fact.
for the presidency regardless
That
of
is
which party
shameful. That is
occupies their
shameful.
White House.
That is
Occupies the
ignorant.
White House.
It makes
For
us look like
for
a
these
stupid
voters, the
nation
issue is not
that does
simply
not
about
believe
policy
in truth,
differences,
but
but
traffics
about
in
tone,
lies.
conduct, and the
It makes the
example
world
set
mock
by
us,
public
and we
leaders.
are better than
As the
that.
campaign moves
We are
forward,
better than
the
that as
questions
Americans.
about leadership,
In
style,
this
and
country,
prioritizing and
we do not
respect for
blame
American
the
institutions
lawlessness
are
of an
likely to remain
individual
central
on a whole
themes.
community.
Whether voters view
What
Omar's
we also
comments as
know
principled
is that there
criticism
is
or
not a
inappropriate
single
rhetoric, many
evidence
play an
that
important
the president or
this
his
may play an
cronies have
important
put
role in
forth
shaping
that there are any
opinions
single
as election
resource
day
from
approaches.
taxpayers
And right now,
in Minnesota
even as
that has
everyone
gone
has
to
like
aid and
this whole
abet
thing to say
terrorism.
about it, well, for many voters, the
language
concern goes
is
beyond a
dangerous.
single comment
That
or a
language
single
puts the
controversy.
lives of
They argue
Somalis
that
not
public
only in
officials should
Minnesota,
be
but
mindful
across the
of how
country
they
in
speak
danger.
about the country they serve
And
and the
if the
institutions
president
they were
believed
elected
that
to
and he
represent.
had
In their
evidence,
view,
he would
vigorous
take people
policy
to
debates
court.
are healthy, but
So we are
the language
sick
used in
and
these
tired
debates matters.
of the
These
president
voters
waking
believe
up
that
one
members
day
of Congress
and
should be
deciding
able to challenge
to put forth
a president's
falsehoods
agenda while
and
still showing respect
demonize
for the
whole
office itself.
communities,
They worry
while
that
the
increasingly
ignorant
hostile
people
political
that
rhetoric
support him
contributes to division
then
and
take
makes it harder for
the lies that
Americans
he's
to
spreading
find common ground on important issues. As a result, some critics are making the case that leadership is not only measured by legislation and votes, but also by conduct, tone, and ability to bring people together. They argue that elected officials should set an example of civil disclosure and civil discourse, and particularly at a time when political tension remain high across the country. Supporters of Omar, meanwhile, maintain that outspoken criticism is part of the role of an opposition lawmaker, and that strong language is often used by politicians from both parties. They argue that voters should focus on policy outside rather than political rhetoric. The debate is therefore unlikely to disappear anytime soon. Questions about representation, accountability, political disclosure and discourse, and respect for public institutions will continue to be discussed throughout the campaign. With each appearance, an interview, and public statement, both supporters and critics will be looking for evidence that reinforces their views. In the end, voters will decide which qualities they value most in their elected representatives, whether they prioritize policy positions or legislative accomplishments, communication style, or personal conduct. Those considerations will shape the outcome of the race and determine who they believe best represents their interests in Washington. Well, right now, everybody has been saying so much about how Ilhan Omar reacted, or how she responded to the president, and a lot of people have had so much to say. Some were in support of her being forward, and a lot of people were like, you should respect the office, right? Well, let's watch the video and then we come back with more commentary.
In this country, we do not blame the lawlessness of an individual on a whole community. What we also know is that there is not a single evidence that the president or his coolies have put forth that there are any single resource from taxpayers in Minnesota that has gone to aid and abet terrorism. That language is dangerous. That language puts the lives of Somalis not only in Minnesota, but across the country in danger. And if the president believed that and he had evidence, he would take people to court. So we are sick and tired of the president waking up one day and deciding to put forth falsehoods and demonize whole communities, while the ignorant people that support him then take the lies that he's spreading and use it as a fact. We've seen it during the campaign where he said Asians were eating cats and dogs. We've seen his vice president repeat those lies. We've seen the media run it as a headline as if it was a fact. That is shameful. That is shameful. That is ignorant. It makes us look like a stupid nation that does not believe in truth but traffics in lies. It makes the world mock us, and we are better than that. We are better than that as Americans.
Now, adding fuel to the controversy and comments that critics say were made by the former Somali Prime Minister regarding Ilhan Omar political priorities. Those remarks have marked intense debate online and among voters, with opponents arguing that they reinforce long-standing concerns about where Omar's loyalty lies. Critics point to the comments as evidence supporting their belief that Omar is more focused on issues affecting Somalia than on the interests of the United States. They argue that members of Congress take an oath to serve the American people, and that any suggestion of divided priorities is something voters should examine carefully. So many of these voters, the controversy is not just about one statement. They see it as part of a broader pattern that has led them to question whether Omar's political focus aligns with the concerns of Americans she was elected to represent. As a result, the remarks have become a major talking point among those calling for greater scrutiny of her record. Supporters of Omar reject that interpretation. They argue that caring about international issues or maintaining ties to one's country of birth does not mean a lawmaker is acting against American interests. They contend that critics are taking comments out of context and using them to advance a political narrative during an election season. Regardless of which side voters ultimately believe, the controversy has once again placed questions of loyalty, representation, and national identity at the center of the political debate. As the campaign continues, both supporters and opponents are expected to use the issue to rally their respective bases and influence undecided voters. What is clear is that the discussion has moved beyond political differences and into a larger conversation about what voters expect from their elected officials. For some, the comment arise serious concern. For others, they are simply another example of fierce political battles that have come to define modern American politics. And right now, as the discussion continues, many voters are asking a simple question. When someone serves in the United States as Congress, where should their primary focus be? Critics argue that the answer should be straightforward. The interests of the American people must come first, regardless of the lawmaker's personal background, heritage, or international connections. For those voters, the controversy surrounding the former Somali Prime Minister's remark has become symbolic of a larger concern. They believe that elected officials should leave no room for doubt about where their loyalties lie and should consistently communicate that their highest responsibility is to the citizens they represent. The issue has gained traction because it touches on themes that resonate deeply with many Americans: patriotism and national identity, and public service. Opponents argue that trust is one of the most important qualities in an elected official, and they believe that trust can be weakened when questions arise about priorities or allegiance. At the same time, supporters of Omar argue that critics are drawing conclusions that are not supported by clear evidence. They maintain that lawmakers can care about international issues, humanitarian concerns, and their cultural heritage while still faithfully serving the United States and their constituents. As campaign season intensifies, these competing narratives are likely to become even more prominent. Political advancement and advertisements, debates, and public appearances will almost certainly revisit the controversy, with each side attempting to persuade voters that their interpretation is the correct one. Ultimately, the controversy underscores a broader reality of modern politics. Perception can be nearly as important as policy. Whether voters view the remarks as a legitimate cause for concern or as a politically motivated attack may have a significant impact on how they evaluate Omar's candidacy moving forward. The coming months will reveal whether the issue remains a major factor in ways of faith before other concerns facing voters. Well, right now, in as much as this whole statement was made, I've been talking about this, and people were like, if you are representing a particular country and its citizens, where is your priority supposed to be? And anyways, let me let you watch the video and then we come back.
Soomaaliya qalin dahab ah ku qortay qadiyadda Ilhan ma aha qadiyad Ilhan ma aha qadiyad Minnesota ma aha qadiyad reer Mareykan qadiyadda Ilhan waa qadiyad Soomaaliyeed guusha Ilhan waa guusha Soomaaliyeed waxayna noo ximbaarsan tahay macno weyn aniga oo ku hadlaya magaca dadka Soomaaliyeed oo dhan meel walba ay joogaan waxaan idinka codsanayaa inaad hiil iyo hool la garab istaagtaan ku taageertaan codkiina dariskiina saaxiibadiin cid walba ood garanaysaan aad u sheegtaan inay soo baxaan si ay Ilhan ugu codeeyaan albaab walbana aad u garaacdaan sidii dib loogu dooran lahaa ballanteenu waa maxay ballanteenu waa inaad garab iyo gaashaan u noqotaan xildhibaan Ilhan oo aad mar kale dibi doorataan idinkoo isku duuban oo ul iyo diira mar kale mahadsanidin Allah idin barakeeyo Soomaaliya ha noolaato.
Right now, as Ilhan Omar prepares for another re-election campaign, the political debate surrounding her shows no signs of slowing down. Critics continue to raise questions about controversies that have followed her throughout her career, her comments regarding the United States and its leadership, and remarks attributed to a former Somali Prime Minister that has fueled concern among some voters about where her priorities lie. For her opponent, these issues are part of a broader discussion about accountability, transparency, and the responsibilities that come with serving in Congress. They argue that elected officials should be held to the higher standard and that voters deserve clear answers when questions arise about their conduct, rhetoric, or political focus. Supporters, however, view many of these criticisms as politically motivated attacks designed to weaken a prominent and outspoken member of Congress. They point to her electoral sources, legislative work, and advocacy on behalf of her constituents as evidence that she continues to earn the support of many voters in her district. As the 2026 election approaches, both sides will continue to make their case to the public. The campaign is likely to be shaped not only by policy debates, but also by larger questions about leadership, representation, national identity, and public trust. In the end, the decision will belong to the voters. They will determine whether the concern raised by critics or outweighs Omar's record in office, or whether they believe she remains the right person to represent them in Washington. Until that verdict is delivered at the ballot box, the debate surrounding Ilhan Omar is certain to remain one of the most closely watched political stories in the country. Well, guys, let me know what you all think about this. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the comment section. If you're new here, subscribe to this channel. Don't forget all rights meant to original creators of the clips that I've attached to this video. Thanks so much for watching this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.